Morning, everybody. It is 8 o'clock, and we're going to get started with the 2023 cross-country running state participant meeting. And if you're on this call, you are likely either a coach or an AD of a school that has qualifiers to this year's cross-country running state meet. So congratulations for that. And a special welcome also to those that may be viewing this a little bit later today on demand due to your schedule. Just to ask for your kind attention here. There's a great number of resources available to you and important information that will be shared given the new venue and location for this year's tournament. Susie, we can go to slide 2. Before we get going, also just a special thanks, kind of assisting on the call today. We've got Susie, who supports in our office here the administration of cross country. Much of the wheels that turn are because of her. Also, John Pursoon, he is our lead rules clinician for the state of Minnesota. He is going to join us as well to talk a few things. And we have Laura Mockentun from our office as well. She is going to talk about information, the website, things that can help you, things that can help your spectators, and also filling in for Tim Layton to talk a little bit about media today as well. So as we work through the agenda, just reviewing some tournament information and resources that are available to you, including the participating schools guide, some of which is included in the meeting today. You will find that printed document, PDF in your dashboards is going to be a very robust source of information. If you haven't read through that already, please do so. The race schedule and box assignments also in your dashboard, and maps of the course, where the shuttle location is, and the layout of the site. Also on the public side, a spectator guide, which goes through some of our important information, much of which is new for the cross-country tournament, especially ticketing. Due to the venue being completely enclosed, that will be a change that we have controlled access, and we'll be charging admission for those spectators that are coming. In addition, we've implemented a wristband policy consistent with other ticketed individual tournaments, and we'll review that in today's meeting as well. Talk a little bit about the parking situation, the shuttle, the venue access, and then following up with live stream opportunities with NSPN and our apparel, which was a hit last year. And I can promise you we will be staffed in a way to make that a better experience for participants for 2023. Susie, we can move on to slide 3. You know, the map will be really helpful, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But as you participants are coming to the site, the place that you will want to drop off is different than where our spectators will enter and access. You are going to want to use the Elizabeth Lyle Robbie Soccer Stadium parking lot. That is accessible on Cleveland Avenue. It is on the east side of the complex. You will get a parking pass for that can be used in either of the 2 team parking lots. So if you are in a school vehicle, a van, a Suburban, even a what I would call a short or mini bus, those could all park in any of our team parking lots, and we'll review that map in just a second. If you park at the Gibbs Farm lot, which is right by the drop-off, you'll work back towards that soccer stadium entrance and access the venue there. Team buses will drop in that same place, but we're going to ask team buses if they do want to park, and a lot of times bus drivers are really savvy about disappearing to a mall, finding a place to go grab a bite to eat, those sorts of things. If your bus driver is looking to park, we're going to direct them to our shuttle lot at 1680 Como. That is a state fair parking lot that is entitled Block 55. It is where our shuttle, our spectators will be parking as well, but there's plenty of space for a large full-size team, school bus, or charter bus. And for those of you that have inquired, you maybe have a singular athlete that is qualified for this particular competition. We are going to ask that they are dropped off on Kaufman Avenue and accessing the venue through the tunnel under Larpenteur Avenue. And again, we'll review the map here on the next slide so that you can kind of see the layout where we're talking. And a reminder that your student athletes can go through really any of our entrances, whether it's the team entrance or either of our ticket gates, if they have their bib on and attached to them. So please let them know that that bib is going to be their access point. Susie, we can go to slide 4. If you just want to maybe use your cursor there and highlight the participant drop off over by the soccer stadium, so you can see it on the east side of the complex. You're going to use that first lot, will drop. Athletes will be able to move along that drive and right into the team camp area along the trees there just to the east of the start line area. You will also notice there's team parking right next to that drop off. There's a little drive connecting the Gibbs Farm parking to the drop-off space, and will be a lot of parking. If that lot is full, security attendants will direct you along Larpenteur Avenue to park in our overflow lot. And there are well more than 100 spaces of team parking there. Again, you will get a parking pass at registration, which will allow you access into these lots. If you are one of our few schools that are unable to make it to the course preview on Friday and register early, please know that we will have passes for you at security. So you will get stopped coming into those lots, and you can just say, I am from school such and such. They will have the parking pass for you, allow you in, and you'll be able to go about your day. Last year, I think we had perhaps a dozen schools or participants in total that did not pick up their passes on course preview day. Please note that the main entrance, and you can see along Larpenteur where it says officials parking, that is not to be used by our teams. We are going to keep that area free and clear, one, for our folks that are going to be parked there all day, but that is also going to be the pathway for our shuttle to move off of Larpenteur Avenue for pickup and drop off. For those of you that maybe are familiar with the GRIAC meet, that meet has hundreds more participants than the state meet. They actually close a lane on Larpenteur Avenue and allow athlete drop off along Larpenteur. Due to the smaller size of this meet, we opted to not plan for drop off that way. So again, we're going to direct you to the soccer stadium parking area for team and participant drop off. Susie, we can go to slide 5.
Charlie, just a question. Is everybody seeing the map? Laura, can you see the map?
I can, Susie.
Susie, I also want to highlight where Kaufman and Larpenteur is and where that tunnel is.
Yep. So the tunnel is noted on the map right here. So this would be the Kaufman and Larpenteur. So there's a neighborhood back in here where people could drop off. So if a parent is bringing a kid, perhaps they could drop them off right here at the tunnel.
Yeah, and there's a paved path that you can just follow the paved path that goes through the tunnel, and there's a ticket entrance right at the end of the tunnel.
The ticket entrance will actually be at the top of the tunnel, John. A little different than GRIAC, but yep.
Okay, perfect.
We like that spot. It'll keep folks out of kind of the congestion of the site. In addition, it gives the athletes a safe place to get into the venue without having to cross Larpenteur Avenue. So we really like that. Please share that with your anybody that could be dropped off, not with the school vehicle or the team.
Charlie, and just to note that this map is posted on dashboards, as well as a snip of it is in the participating schools guide. So if you're looking for it later in more detail, you can find it there.
Susie, before we jump to 5 for course preview day, note that we will be set up in the clubhouse building, and you can see it says registration here along Larpenteur Avenue in the southwest corner of the venue. Any of the lots will be available for you on preview day, but please know that on race day, you will do the participant drop off over in the soccer stadium area along Cleveland Avenue. I would encourage you just take your athletes through that experience. Actually practice the drop off and what it's going to be like on race day. Rachel, we will answer that question in just a little bit about clerking. I think you'll find we've got a pretty good plan for that. Susie, with that, we'll jump to slide 5, I think, finally, and continue to work on. So again, we have an optional course preview that is not required of teams. I know that will be a popular option for many since for the first time since 1992, we are at a new site. As I mentioned, team registration will be in the clubhouse, again, southwest corner along Larpenteur Avenue. That is going to be from 1 to 4:30. Your coach's advisory asked if that preview could start earlier. And we felt that we just needed the time Friday morning to ensure that the course was set up properly, that you could have a preview that met the standard of the state meet. And we felt we needed kind of every minute of time to do that. We have extended it on the backside until 4:30, however, and we're just going to ask that you respect those times. You know, those are times we've got staff that are going to be there assisting, whether it's golf course staff, U of M staff, or our officials and tournament staff. Just ask that you respect those times and respect the people that are helping make this experience possible. We're going to ask that on the course for the preview that we have state qualifiers only. One, to protect the integrity of the course. We want to keep as you know, we want only the participants to be out on the course. So certainly all of your teammates are welcome to take part in the preview. But again, due to the keeping the course available and not too crowded for those participants, we're going to ask that is the case. You will pick up race packets. Please note that either the head coach or a school faculty member must be designated to pick that up. You'll receive in those packets 2 wristbands for a team qualification, 2 wristbands for an individual qualifier, and that would be for each gender. So if you have a boys qualifier, there will be 2 wristbands, and a girls qualifier, you would have 2 additional wristbands. Boys and girls will come in separate packets. So if you are the head coach of dual genders and they're both represented, you're going to have 2 packets. Coaches above and beyond those, you'll need to work a barter system with somebody who maybe doesn't need their wristbands, or they will need to be purchased through our hometown ticketing app. Laura will talk about that in just a little bit. Bag tags will be included in those packets, bibs, which include bibs for your alternates, a parking pass. You will request that parking pass from us. If you know you are going to have a full-size bus, you will not need a parking pass to park on our property. If you have athletes that are riding with their parents, etc. So, but just request that pass if you need it. We will have those there. And then what can help us is the uniform verification form. That is just good preventative work on your side from a coaching perspective to make sure that we are not having to make any last minute adjustments. We would like the clerking process to go quite smoothly without having to direct athletes to make a lot of changes. And believe it or not, we do deliver those pronunciation forms to our awards announcer because we want to get your community names correct when we go through the awards ceremony. So all of those pieces will be in your race packets on registration day or on race day. And please note on Saturday, if you have not picked up your packet, plan to arrive a little bit early, and your packet will be in the clubhouse as it will be on Friday. Susie, I think we can go to slide 6. Just a reminder, there is not an indoor area. One of the great, what I would say, losses of moving from the St. Cloud site is the indoor area is not available to us, and the weather looks dry but chilly this weekend. So plan accordingly. It'll be outdoors for everybody. Participants should come dressed really ready to participate. We don't have a spot for dressing rooms. We will have a team tent camp area, as was indicated on the map, just inside the soccer stadium drive on the east side of the start area. And some of you I know reached out and did take advantage ordering a tent from Ultimate Events, and took care of that as well. And I believe yesterday was the deadline to do that. And Susie, you want to just make a comment what you just put in the chat there?
Yeah, just to note that the uniform verification and pronunciation form are in the participants guide, and they are also posted as separate documents on your dashboard. If you want to have those filled out and ready to go when you get to registration, that would probably make things a little bit smoother, but in the event that you forget, we'll have extras available.
Great, thanks, Susie. And we can move to item 7, slide 7, excuse me. I just want to talk and maybe more for the ADs on this call, but over the past year, students in Minnesota in league-sponsored activities really they came together in a series of regional and statewide meetings a year ago, and identified 7 key behavior expectations that they expect all attendees to abide by. And so we're doing our part to try to communicate this to our schools, to our general public at section and state tournaments. Cross country certainly looks and feels a lot different than other tournaments, but want to make sure that we're carrying this conversation forward, making sure that if and when you see this, it's not the first time. But you can see here that there are 7 icons with just really simple language that our kids would like to see from those that are attending events and supporting kids. And really the goal is that we have safe, respectful environments that are inclusive for all that participate. The reality is we need your help to set these expectations and enforce them. And of course, if you or your participants see or hear something that is not in line with these expectations, please report it to a race official, to a school official, because in that way it can be dealt with, and we hope can be stopped, interrupted, and so that we can continue to make our environment safe and inclusive for all. Susie, we can go to 8. Want to just at this point, I'm going to throw this over to John to talk a little bit about the clerking process. And you know, we have asking, I think, for a bit of grace. We had a new clerking process last year in the Toastrud Fieldhouse at St. Olaf. We thought it worked well. We're continuing to evolve with a similar process here at the University of Minnesota. We've had a lot of people that have really examined this tournament start to finish. We think we've put a good plan together, but we also know that it's going to be new for everybody. Not only us as tournament administrators, but it's going to be new for you as well. It's going to be new for your athletes and new for spectators. So again, just know that we've put a lot of thought in this, but asking for your help in trying to follow the directions and the guidelines that we've established to make this tournament happen. John, with that, I'm going to turn it to you and let you talk a little bit about clerking, the clerking process.
Great, thanks, Charlie. So first thing is the location of the clerk tent. And you don't have to go back to the map, Susie, but if you'll see on the map, there's the start line and the team tent area. The clerking tent is going to kind of be between that tent city and the start line. So it's going to be really convenient for teams that are in the tent area to come and check in with the clerk tent. It is going to be a heated tent, but we realize that it's going to be cold on Saturday. So if teams could come to the tent, and we'll have space in the tent. And again, this is our first time doing this, so we're still working out the details. But they'll have an area where they can take off their warm-ups, and then we'll direct them to a clerk and then they can go and have their uniforms checked to make sure they fall within both NFHS as well as MSHSL guidelines. We'll check to see who are the actual runners that are participating in the meet that day. We're also going to ask that you bring any alternates bibs with to that to the clerking so that we can collect those. The reason for that is those bibs actually have a chip in them. And if that bib goes near the finish line, sometimes that bib will be recorded in the finished results, and we don't want that. So that's why we're collecting bibs. If there's a last minute substitution, say your athlete is out on the course and twists an ankle or something like that, you need to make that last minute substitution. The referee will have all those extra bibs near the start line. They'll be kind of positioned near the west side of the start line, between the start and the finish line. So you can just go ahead, find that referee or find an official and a clerk, and they will point you to the referee, and they'll be able to switch that bib out for you. Okay. We're not going to do any check-ins at the start line. I know last year was the first time we did it indoors. Previous to that, we did have clerking outdoors. We're not going to do the start line. We realize that that's kind of a stress for athletes and for teams. So we're going to try and do all the clerking ahead of time. However, there will be clerks available with box assignments and to answer questions at the start line. We'll probably have 2 or 3 of them roaming the start line. So if your athletes are not sure what box they're supposed to be in or anything like that, they can go ahead and report that. Ask those questions of those clerks. Again, as we're during the check-in process, what we're going to do is we're going to have the clerks put like a check mark. I know last year we used dots; those tended to fall off. We're going to have them put a mark on their bib, just say yes. We went ahead and checked this person in. That way, the clerks at the line can quickly look and see to make sure all athletes have been checked in the clerking process. And finally, make sure those athletes arrive at the start line no later than 20 minutes prior to their race. To answer the question, yeah, if you want to get your bibs for souvenirs afterwards, just come after the race is complete. Again, come and find the referee and go ahead and you can pick those bibs up. Again, we do ask that they then try and stay away from the finish line while other races are going on, because that finish line will pick up those bibs regardless of what race they're in. Couple other things to note. As far as the Minnesota modifications to uniforms, again, make sure that your athletes come with their school issued and approved uniforms. As far as undergarments, it's the same as what track and relay teams are, right? If they have what they call foundation garments on, those foundation garments must be of a single solid color that match. So if one athlete has black underneath, black compression shorts or tights underneath their shorts, if more than one have it, they all have to match. If just one has, in other words, not everyone has to wear compression shorts, or not everyone has to have tights on, right? But if more than one has them on, they do have to be of a single solid color. The top color and the bottom color do not have to match. So in other words, if they have a white t-shirt on and black compression shorts on, that's perfectly okay. But again, if more than one have them on, they all have to match. Okay. Any questions on either put it in the chat? I think there was a couple of questions in the chat that referred to that. So there we go. And thanks, Susie. So again, warm-ups can be worn to the tent, but they're removed once inside, and we'll check that. You're going to be the student athletes are going to be required to show their bib or competitor number securely attached to the front. If they're wearing individuals, no. There's no requirements, right? The tops and bottoms don't have to match, again, because they're an individual. They don't have any teammates to match. So if it's an individual, there's no rule about headband matching. The one thing I will say about any headgear is that there are no baseball caps allowed, and there are no bandanas or any other kind of thing that has a knot in it. However, if someone wears a ribbon to control their braids or their ponytails, that's fine. Again, not like, we don't want anything with a knot in the back of the head or in the front of the head or anything like that. That's the knots we're talking about. We're not talking about ribbons or things like that. Stocking caps are fine. Again, we realize it's going to be cold. So if student wants to wear a stocking cap, again, general guidelines with that is there are no restrictions on logos or anything like that. Just make sure there's nothing offensive, nothing political, anything like that on those stocking caps. As far as body paint and face glitter and things like that, again, if you read the Minnesota State High School League modifications, that is not allowed. If they do come to the clerk tent or the starting line with it on, it will, ask that you do your best effort to try and remove it. But we understand that, if there's glitter in the hair, you can't wash your hair, but please talk to your teams and discourage them from doing any type of things like that. And that also goes for, marker writing on the body. A lot of times you'll see if you go to the GRIAC, a lot of the college teams will take those big, thick black markers and write on their legs or anything like that, right? That is against Minnesota State High School guidelines. So again, please ask your teams not to do any sort of painting, body painting, face paint, or anything like that. So warm-ups, you can wear your warm-ups to the tent. We'll have a spot in the tent where they can remove their warm-ups and put them in a pile. Then they'll go to the clerk. The clerk will check all the uniforms, check their numbers, give them some quick instructions on how the start's going to work, and then they can put their warm-ups on and be on their way. And like we said, talked about the bibs of alternates turn into the clerks at check-in. But if you do want those back, come find either myself or the referee after the race, and we will get those bibs back to you. Let's look at the chat, make sure. There's no rule with headband. There's no rule as far as headwear having to match in color or anything like that. Again, there's no logo restrictions. Again, you just have to make sure that there's nothing offensive or political on those headbands. No, so there's no as far as the bibs being allowed to the tent area. So once you're on site, they're really, and it's very different than the St. Olaf courses. Once you're on site, there are very few restricted areas. I know last year at the St. Olaf course, there was the triangle area where only coaches with wristbands could get in. At the University of Minnesota course, the only really restricted area is kind of the finish corral, which is really only athletes who are finishing the race are allowed in there. Unless there's a medical emergency, then we obviously will allow a coach in to attend to their athlete. Otherwise, there's not really any restricted areas. So I think I got all the questions. And so don't have to mention individuals, talked about the headbands. Oh, underwear versus compression color. So if this is a really tough one. But what I always do is say, hey, if it's really easily visible underneath their uniform, that has to be of a single solid color, right? So if a kid's wearing boxer shorts underneath their uniform shorts, we're not going to say anything about that. Same thing with sports bras. We're not going to police that. But if they have compression shorts that are clearly visible underneath their shorts, that has to be a single solid color. Same thing with if it's a t-shirt, single solid color if it's clearly visible. So does that clarify the compression or the undergarment question?
John, question about, can warm-ups be removed in the tent and then put back on for warming
Yes.
up at the start line?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So once they remove their warm-ups in the tent, we're going to go to check in the clerk. They'll be able to go put them back on and then leave the clerking tent, right? We're not going to force them to go out without the warm-ups on, because we realize that you might, if you check in early, there might be 90 minutes before your race time, right? So absolutely, you can put your warm-ups back on. So runners can leave the start line after they check in 20 minutes. Yeah, so there's really not even a check-in at the start line. We just ask that they report to the start line 20 minutes ahead of time, right? And that's to avoid last minute running up and trying to find their box or everything else, right? Have the athletes go there, get acquainted with their starting box. They can do their runouts, they can do their team chants, they can do all that stuff. Again, there's not going to be any check-in process at the start line, but we just ask you get there early so that they acquaint themselves with the start line and where they're going to be starting. Yes. Well, so will there be a controlled restricted area? No, not really. So at the start line, I know in St. Olaf that area was had a fence around it, so you couldn't get to it. That is not the case at the University of Minnesota course. So anyone can be near the start line. We will make announcements. We always make announcements 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute before the race. When there's 5 minutes before a race, we're going to ask that all non-participants, that means coaches, spectators, managers, parents, anyone else, clear the start area. And we'll have officials kind of doing that. And it's going to be really obvious to see who they are because, it's only people with uniforms on that are going to be allowed in the start area after that 5 minute place. The team leggings, so no, they don't. As long as if there's multiple athletes from a team wearing leggings, they all have to be of a single solid color. They don't have to be exact matches. They don't have to be school issued. The uniform has to be school issued and approved, but the undergarments or foundation garments do not. All right, I think that covers most of my stuff. Susie, you want to go to the next slide? Yeah, okay, I think this is back to Charlie. So if you do have other questions, pop them in the chat. And I will answer the chat questions that way.
Great, thanks, John. Appreciate your work with that. And again, I think once you're on site, coaches, you'll get a feel for the layout, how athletes will be able to move pretty easily from the team camp to clerking to start line. And you will appreciate the space that this site is going to afford us. You'll also appreciate the ability to spectate and coach on course as well. We will have award ceremonies conducted at the award stage. That's going to be near the finish line area. Following each of the races, the Class A, AA, and AAA races, we will do awards, boys and girls together for each class. We will do team trophies first, and then medals for the team trophies and medals for the first, second, and third place team finishers, and then medals for individuals finishing first through 10th place, excuse me. For those of you that who want to present to your participating athletes a certificate of participation, as is customary with all other tournaments, that can be found on the AD dashboard or the dashboard of your administrative assistant, where the certificates templates are there and can be printed right there in your school, in your office. Slide 11, Susie. Just talk a little bit about spectator parking. And again, we're going to need your help sharing this information. There is a spectator guide. Laura will talk about that a little bit on the public side. But any information you can share with your interested public, your families of the participants, will be appreciated. As you notice from the map, we will not allow spectators to be parking in any of the Les Bolstad golf course lots. That's going to be monitored by security. You're going to need a parking pass. There is a limited amount of neighborhood parking for able-bodied folks that might be interested. You might be able to find some neighborhood parking and walk. We are encouraging, however, spectators to go to the shuttle parking lot, again, block 55 at 1680 Como. That is across Como Avenue from the Minnesota State Fair Coliseum. We will have parking attendants there. We will have as many as 6 shuttle buses running. We think that we're going to have a very efficient system. Anywhere from the shuttle ride, it will be anywhere from 6 to 9 minutes for each leg of the shuttle. And it's a very quick and convenient way to get dropped off and picked up right near the main entrance. We will run that shuttle from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. We will make some announcements to ensure that folks have left the site. That shuttle and the parking is free of charge. We will not be charging anybody to utilize that service. It is provided as a courtesy, understanding the limitations of parking at or near the site. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Laura now to talk a little bit more about some of the online resources that are available for coaches, ADs, and for spectators.
Great. Thanks, Charlie. And again, congratulations, everyone, for qualifying for the state meet. A number of resources for both you as well as your spectators and your communities in the next few slides. The slide that's showing right now, both Charlie and Susie have referenced a number of things that are on AD and coach dashboards. On each of your dashboards, you have a large blue section that's indicated by number 1, where if you click on sports and activities, it's going to open up a number of blue bands. Coaches, for most of you, it's only the sports that you coach. You see 2 or 3 or 4 of these, whereas an AD is going to see one of these blue bands for every activity within their school. Clicking the little plus over on the right-hand side of that accordions this out. And behind that, you'll see number 3. And this is where all of those resources are. On the left-hand side were things that have been up there all year to help you prepare for your season. On the far right-hand side are all of the state tournament resources. So Susie has filled this section with a number of resources for you. Some of these things may hit you via email also or be referenced here, but those are always put in that spot. After the meeting today, the slides from this meeting, as well as the recording from this meeting, will also be added to that spot. So just again, as you prepare for the next or for Saturday, that spot is your go-to for all resources for coaches and ADs. On the next slide is on the public side of the website. So out under sports and activities, and then either boys cross country or girls cross country, this is the spot for you to send your communities and your spectators to. There are also some resources there for you, but this area is really built for the public. On those pages, you'll find a schedule. You'll find a spectator guide, which is about a 2-page, what we call a printable guide that folks can print and take with them to the venue, and kind of has all of that information for them to have a successful visit. Many times those are things that ADs, you used to spend quite a bit of time pulling together resources for your spectators. We believe that that spectator guide does that. You'll also find a link to apparel. The link to streaming is there. This is where you will find results that are posted both during and after the meet. And you can also find the online souvenir program. So again, direct your communities, your spectators to those public pages. Moving on, a few of the things that you'll find, just a reminder that our programs are online only. You'll find those linked on those pages. Those cross-country program we anticipate will go up probably Wednesday as we get prepared for the program, so or prepare for the meet. So letting your spectators know about that. Also, the state cross-country meet will be streamed live. NSPN is our streaming partner. They have changed their name over the last 2 years, but it is the same organization that the league has used for a number of years. They are a subscription-based. It is a $10 a month or $30 a year for a subscription. They will have full coverage from 4 different locations on the course. They are very excited this year by the path that the race takes, because it allows for much better coverage for those that are streaming. So again, letting your folks know that this is available if they are not able to attend the meet is highly suggested. Additionally, our apparel vendor will be on site Friday during the preview as well as Saturday during the meet. This is our 2nd year using Signature Concepts as our apparel vendor, and they continue to do just an amazing job. We had some issues last year where they simply didn't quite understand, and we didn't prepare them for the scope of how much was going to be purchased. So we had a number of people last year that ended up ordering online more than in person. That is always an option, but they are well prepared this year and ready to have a lot on site for you. They are a cashless organization, so credit or debit cards are needed for those purchases. Next slide has just a quick preview of what that apparel looks like. And again, this slideshow will be there for you. If you want to share this with your communities, please do that. Additional information, Charlie has talked quite a bit about ticketing. Ticketing, just as a reminder, we'll say it many, many times so that people hear it and share it on. Ticketing is required this year at the state cross-country meet for the first time. Spectators will need to have an electronic ticket to get in the door. $13 for adults, $8 for students. Our ticket vendor for this is Hometown Ticketing, which provides us with an awful lot of options for those tickets. Those tickets can be presented on a phone, in the Hometown app, or in an Apple or Google Wallet. When you purchase a ticket, it does come to your email as a PDF. That can also be scanned at the gate. And then additionally, these tickets may be printed and presented at the gate. So if you have folks with you that smartphones are not their thing, it is a much easier place to get those at this spot. Our buses will have QR codes on them to remind people to get those tickets purchased. We'll have people at the gate to help them get that ticket purchased online. But in reality, the earlier people buy those, the better off they are. So sharing with your communities and spectators now that go buy those tickets, get them all taken care of, have them ready on Saturday so that you're ready to get into the meet. Coaches, if you go beyond that limit of 2 and have additional coaches that need to purchase tickets, those folks will purchase tickets exactly like spectators will. If you remember, happen to be connected with the track program at track and field, coach tickets are different than spectator tickets. At the cross country meet, there is one ticket, whether you are a third or subsequent coach, or whether you are a fan. So if you are going to be one of those additional coaches, you can also do this and order that through the website and do that now. Susie, Charlie, I'm correct that over by the team check-in, those coaches will also be able to scan their tickets there. They will not need to walk around to the main gate. We intend to have a scanner at that team entrance so that if you are that third or subsequent coach, you can get that ticket scanned in that area.
Correct.
I'm going to
That's
pause
correct.
for just a minute. Charlie, anything that I said about ticketing that you want to reinforce or restate or correct me at all on?
No, I think you did really well. We are well staffed at every single one of our access points. A couple of questions about ADs that have purchased their state tournament pass. Our ticket staff will be ready to accept those and allow access into the venue. If you found yourself arriving with a team, you would also be able to present that over at our team drop-off as well.
Thanks, Charlie. Last few slides with some information on them. Susie, if you want to go ahead to 19. Just a reminder, and again, this really applies to more folks in your community, but often they come to you with questions. All media who attend a Minnesota State High School Lake State Tournament must apply for credentials and be approved. And again, most of our media know this, but sometimes we get folks who this is the first time they're covering a state tournament. And it is different than covering a regular season event. There is a process they go through. They can find that on our media page, and credentials applications do close at 7 p.m. on Friday for that. So if you have media in your community, and especially if they are newer, would certainly appreciate if you could give them a heads up on this. Just to note that the league also does run a student media experiential learning program. That is for our team sports, and student media are not a part of our state cross country meet. Moving ahead a slide. There again, just some information about that student media program and where to look for that information for media. And then finally, excited that at our state cross country meet, we do have some media time with our top 3 finishers. So if your runners are those top 3 finishers following each race, league staff will work with them and move them into an area following each race where media can speak with them. Award ceremony also provides additional photo interview opportunities, and often media are working with those students after that. But again, just giving your kids a heads up that they may be interviewed afterwards by media. For those that is new for, prepping them on that is always a great idea. Charlie, with that, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Great. Kirk asked a question in the chat about the length. We are shooting to be just over 5,000 meters in length. We will not be 100 meters over, but probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 meters over the 5,000 meter mark. We'll be delayed a little bit maybe in marking that course this week, just due to the snow and the coverage there. But some preliminary work was done last week, and we are going to have to make some adjustments to the preliminary, but expect that course to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,020 meters. And
So
with
we'll-
that,
so on Friday, we'll go out and actually measure the course, and it will not be short. The rule book actually says it must be of at least 5,000 meters. So we put that 20 to 30 meter buffer in there just to make sure. We do run wheel the course, following the tangents that a runner more than likely will use. And so that's how we measure it, but it won't be 5,100 meters, but it'll probably be, like Charlie said, in the neighborhood of 50-20 to 50-30.
right, with that, we'll close the meeting, and I just want to thank everybody for their time. Review those website resources as you prepare here this week. Reach out to Susie and I, and if we can't get the answer, we'll direct that question to somebody who knows the answer. But we are well planned and looking forward to a great event on Saturday at the Les Volstad Golf Course. Thanks, everybody.